Welcome to the Pink Square Show. It's time to grab your crown, swish your gown, and get the party started. Welcome to the Pink Square Show, and thanks for joining the party. My name is Madeline, and I am your host. Before we meet our guests today, I want to let you know that our feature word for this episode is unconquerable. Please use it to compliment or uplift someone today. And feel free to send us video of you doing so for a chance to be showcased on our show and possibly crowned the Pink Square Wordsmith of the Week. Now, without further ado, let's meet our guests. Today we will be holding court with the unconquerable Robyn Donaldson and Keme Hawkins, co-founders of a wonderful organization by the name of Paths to Peace. This organization has found an amazing way of marrying the principles of yoga and social advocacy, and it's absolutely fantastic. Ladies, welcome to the show. It's so wonderful to have you here.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So, ladies, before we start talking about your fantastic organization, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourselves? And Robyn, I want to start with you. What's your story?
Sure. Yes. Well, again, thank you for having me and Keme. So I grew up in the Chicagoland area, right outside the city in the suburbs, and both of my parents were, very active in their communities and just civically engaged. And they ended up going into politics, not, full time. They were both educators, but they ended up in politics because they wanted to bring change to their communities. And so that's kind of where I first was introduced to politics. And then just growing up in Chicago, it's a city with interesting history around politics. And I grew up there. Then I went to college, and after that went to law school, and started to just get more involved in social justice issues. And after I finished law school, I worked for Barack Obama's first presidential campaign in 2008. And really learned a lot through that experience, and then continued to work with his organization, Organizing for America, in the state of Florida. And then I don't even know how it all happened, but I ended up doing a yoga teacher training, and that really changed my life and kind of put my life on a different trajectory around health and wellness. And that sort of led me to Bali, to Indonesia. I did want to have the opportunity to teach overseas, teach English, and get a chance to travel and see another part of the world. And one of the reasons that I chose Asia is because it's a place that has a lot of interesting healing arts, and that gave me the opportunity to study a little bit more in Bali, yoga while I was there. And then I ended up in Atlanta after I left, and Keme, we best friends. We've known each other for over 25 years, and she was living in Atlanta, finishing her PhD, and I was looking for a place that I was going to move to when I came back into the U.S. from Indonesia, and that's how I ended up in Georgia. And so I've been in Atlanta for about 8 years now, and it's just an electrifying city. The civil rights history, as well as we have Stacey Abrams. She's located here, and the fair fight. And so just been doing more and more work in politics. I was on the Asaf runoff team. And so it's another interesting place too, because there are a lot of Black yoga teachers and people in the wellness profession here in Atlanta. So that's been nice. And that sort of kind of all of this led to us starting Paths to Peace. So that's just a little introduction, about me. And then I'm sure Keme will kind of fill in some of the gaps about how we came into being to start Paths to Peace.
Okay. And yes, Dr. Hawkins, Tell us your story.
Sure. Hi, I'm Keme Hawkins, co-founder of Paths to Peace with Robyn Donaldson. Well, I don't really know where to start. Robyn, I felt like you gave like a short bio. I don't know if I need to offer that much information. I will just say, yes, on the tail end of Robyn coming back from Indonesia, I was already in Atlanta. I was finishing my doctorate degree in English, and I was getting really tired of academia, and I was ready to do something different. I wanted to go into the arts. I've always loved yoga and healing modalities and spirituality, and that plus art was just like a perfect mix to me. So when Robyn came back and she spent some time in Atlanta, we just really talked about our love for healing modalities and what can we do to share those things with people and to create something to offer all these great gifts that people can use to fortify themselves or rejuvenate or recover. So yeah, that was kind of the genesis of Paths to Peace from my end.
Ladies, thanks for sharing your stories. Now let's talk about Paths to Peace. Tell us what this organization is all about and how you developed it and what it stands for. Elaborate.
So Paths to Peace, we're a team of trauma-informed yoga educators, healing artists, and psychotherapists, and we offer programs and trainings in trauma-informed care, trauma-informed yoga, mental health education, community building, racial healing, and restorative justice. And so the way it kind of came into being, it was really over about 10 years, just a combination of just our own explorations of these practices and, going to some sacred sites in the world and just really looking at, how we can use this for social change, and then just kind of doing our own work around social change and our own healing work. And then that's kind of how, Paths to Peace all came together. And it's just so important for people to really understand how trauma works, because it's a unique experience for each person, and it's a visceral reaction that the body has, specifically your nervous system, and the nervous system in your body starts to react far before your logical, rational mind kicks in. And so the practices that we do are to help regulate the nervous system. Sometimes yoga can be very agitating to the nervous system, depending on the teacher and the practice and what's happening. So just over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of scientific research catching up to yoga and really showing that there is a connection between moving trauma through the body, as well as using healing arts and meditation and yoga and breath work to help move that trauma.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Just outstanding. Now, Keme, I've heard you mention the term guided meditation. You've mentioned that before in your sessions. Talk to me about what that actually is, because I think it's a really important practice.
Sure. I came to meditation. It's kind of a funny story. I was always kind of a sensitive child, very sensitive to energy, people's energy, universal spirit energy. That was something I always felt a connection to. I didn't get much explanation about it growing up in a Christian household. It was kind of, there's not a lot of leeway. It's kind of a very clear lane of spirituality, and some of the experiences I had didn't always fit in with that. And around the time of my freshman year in college, my father was executed on death row, and I kind of went into a shutdown mode for a couple of years. And that was right around the time I met Robyn, and she was a great comrade and distraction. I will say I did have a good time with that, but
college,
right? And I just feel like, people do that. You experience something, and a lot of people, I don't know, to sound polite, we do things to become distracted. So that was part of that journey. But as I got older, I really kind of started thinking about spirituality in a more intellectual way, and reading different texts, different schools of thought. And that's something that was always very attractive to me. And then I got into yoga, moving the body. And I think it was around that time where things started bubbling up to the surface that I had buried. And so that's when I felt a need to kind of calm the mind, because it was sort of just a great influx of experiences that were coming up for me. So that the yoga movement, in addition to the talk therapy, it was suggested to me that I try yoga. And this person who suggested this also had an understanding of astrology, and I have a Mercury in Gemini, which means I have a very fluid mind. And she said, I don't think silent meditation will be good for you. You should do something guided so that your mind can follow along. And she told me just to start with 1 to 3 minutes at a time, which I thought was ridiculous. I thought, listen, meditation like at least an hour. But I did it. I would just do 1 minute here, just simple guided meditations. And it really progressed to the point where I could eventually meditate for an hour. And so I've always loved guided meditations. And I think it's, when we always say, when you're watching television or a scary movie, your mind or your body doesn't know the difference, that's fake, or you're watching someone else experience it. You feel as if you are experiencing it.
Yes.
And that's the same approach to guided meditations. Your body doesn't know that you're not really floating on your back in a warm Mediterranean Ocean bath, but you can imagine that and create that internal experience for yourself. And so that was very liberating for me. And I thought, this is something we should add to our Paths to Peace class. Yeah, in addition to the body movement. And then we have the psychotherapists who help with talk therapy. Then we have the own internal journey of guided meditation. So yeah, that's how that started.
Well, it's a great practice that everyone should experience. And I know just in the sessions that I've experienced that or done that with you, it has really opened up a lot for me. So thank you for sharing that. Anyways, now switching gears. You guys talked about how you met, and you said that you were each other's support system. How important is that in order to accomplish your goals and live a more fulfilled and healthy life?
Invaluable. It's been invaluable. I mean, I just want to say I am so grateful for Robyn's friendship. I think a lot of times people underestimate the power of this female friendships, especially when women can be there for each other and support each other. It can be just such a powerful thing. And I kind of feel bad that more people don't get to experience that and don't get to have a good friend or know what that's like to have someone in your corner and who understands you as a woman, as a Black woman. And I just think it's invaluable.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up an only child, so I always any friends that I have, felt like family to me, and that's just kind of how my family was, growing up. But when I met Keme, like I said, we were in college, and yeah, it was just like meeting a kindred spirit. And but I will say, because I'm always sometimes wondering like what made our friendship different from other friendships of mine or best friends I had through life. But I really feel like we both were interested in spirituality and interested in our own spiritual growth and development. And we would both kind of be going through our own trials and tribulations or challenges or just spiritual like discoveries and awakenings kind of in and around the same time. So we would just be sharing information, and I really feel like that probably is a real foundation of our friendship. And yeah, I just think it's so important to and this is something like we both have talked about, you know, just in our own lives, is to really embrace chosen family. You know, not everybody has a tight-knit, you know, family where, you know, 30 people show up for someone's graduation, and, you know, you then have, you know, a big house full of people every holiday, and or everyone lives in the same city. You know, not everybody has that, and not everyone's life is exactly the same as someone else's. And then also, you know, this is something I'm always, you know, exploring for myself. You know, you don't have to live the exact same life as your parents or as somebody else. I mean, you know, lineage and traditions and legacy, you know, all of that are important, you know, for some people, and, you know, very wonderful, but, you know, it's okay to embrace chosen family, you know. So if someone in your life is more like a sibling than maybe your own sibling, instead of trying to like bemoan that too much, be grateful and appreciative of the bond you might have, you know, with someone who maybe doesn't share the same bloodline, especially in these days when just the world is more expansive and open. And yeah, so I think it's so important to create chosen family and appreciate those support systems that, you know, you can create for yourself.
Well, I love that. And I love it so much because that's exactly what the Pink Square is all about. That's the premise on which it was founded. So thank you for sharing that. And I really, really love the dynamic between the two of you. It just, it makes my heart melt every time I see it. You have a really amazing friendship. Okay, ladies, let's talk about next steps. What are the next steps for Paths to Peace? And when you answer that question, I also want you to address what trauma-informed yoga actually is.
Sure. So trauma-informed yoga is yoga that is taking in consideration of how trauma interacts within the body, particularly the nervous system. So the body, like if, you know, trauma is unique to everyone, and it's a physical, visceral reaction where the body's nervous system either, you know, indicates that it feels safe or it feels that it's in danger. So that, you know, automatically happens, you know, not automatically, but right, you know, when something happens, it hits first in the nervous system before it makes it, you know, to your brain for rational, logical, you know, reasoning. So, there's a protective mechanism already built into your nervous system where the body will go into a fight, flight, or freeze mode. So it can be great, you know, if you're in danger, someone's, you know, running after you with a knife, let's say, and you flee, you take off without even thinking, you know, to escape, you know, that's great. Or if, you know, somebody is getting ready to attack you or something, and you just spring into, you know, fight mode to protect yourself. Or like, for example, if someone is, you know, breaking into your home or something, and, you know, you need to, you hear in your, you know, your nervous system just gives a freeze mode, and you're, you know, very quiet and, you know, very still, you know, that's when we need that protective mechanism. But what ends up happening is, you know, people's bodies can stay in that state. Or, you know, when something happens, the nervous system automatically goes to that state. But you need to have your nervous system in a rest mode, because when the nervous system is in a rest mode, that's when you can build your immunity. That's when you can, you know, get rest and, you know, hormonal balance and all of these other things. So, so trauma-informed yoga, there's just certain poses that we do or, you know, don't do that won't agitate your nervous system and send your nervous system into any of those protective mechanisms. Because sometimes yoga can be, you know, depending again on the teacher and on the class and everything, it can agitate your nervous system. So we don't want to trigger your nervous system in that way and do that.
And it's really good to know your body and have that internal awareness, because some yoga that might agitate me may not agitate the next person.
Mhm.
You know, trauma is not the same response across the board. It's something could happen to me that I find very traumatic that doesn't bother Robyn at all. She's
Mhm.
fine with it. So it's a very personal experience of when you feel safe or when you feel in danger. And that could be something triggered from a childhood memory or childhood experience that no one else can connect to in the same way because it's your specific experience. So I feel like it's very personal, but I just know that what we do is we try to teach people an awareness of those internal changes that happens.
Mhm.
You need to be able or be aware when you're up, you know, when that nervous system is upregulating or when it's down regulating, and be able to kind of control where you need it to go in the moment. You know, like we're saying, you don't want to stay in fight, flight, or freeze, but you do want to be able to go into rest mode. And then you do want to be able to go into upregulated nervous system when you need to. So it's really just an awareness of when you're going in and out of balance and how to kind of maintain that. Yeah.
Robyn, I have one last question for you. Since you have rubbed shoulders and worked directly and indirectly for former President Barack Obama, current President Joe Biden, Senators Warnock and Ossoff, and the lovely Stacey Abrams, I was wondering if you had any political aspirations. Am I going to be calling you Senator Donaldson sometime soon?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
see.
exciting.
Yeah, I've been asked pretty much all my life about running for office just because of my dad. He was a mayor of our suburb for a little while. And then my mom, she's still on her school, or not school, but the library board. She's been on for quite some time. But I'll just say, I'll never say never. I like the behind the scenes work of it all. I always say, you know, I like the behind the scenes and the campaigning and putting, you know, what I offer behind, you know, great candidates who want to do the governing work, because doing the meetings and the governing work, that's not really my thing, but, you know, never say never. But what's interesting is, you know, when I was doing my, you know, yoga teacher trainings, you know, yoga, some of the philosophies of yoga. And when we say yoga, you know, in the Western world, it's usually just geared towards, the physical poses, but yoga encompasses, you know, meditation, breath work, you know, karma yoga, which is service, selfless service, you know, positive thinking, diet, you know, all of these different things. And so, you know, when you look back at, you know, Dr. King, he was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi and, you know, the revolution that was happening in India against the British. And Mahatma Gandhi used certain yoga principles in order to, you know, organize that movement. And Dr. King and the civil rights movement used the similar principles. So that's really where this practice, it's not where it came from, but, you know, it passed through, you know, those leaders and revolutionaries and everything. And so we are working with individuals like yourself with our racial healing program that you've been participating in. And, you know, racial healing is just something very specific to not just the United States, but, you know, it's the idea of how this trauma of white body supremacy or white supremacy culture that impacts all of us, you know, regardless, because it's just a way to, you know, dehumanize one group over another group, but even the group that's in the dominant group, you know, there's a lack of humanity that happens with themselves by just even, you know, adopting or, you know, being susceptible to bias against another group. So it, you know, it hurts everyone. So so we've been doing those, started doing the racial healing program, and, you know, we're going to expand that hopefully too. And then we have been working with various organizations here in the United States that are on the front lines of a lot of these social justice movements and a lot of advocates and activists, because you know, they're experiencing their own trauma around some of these issues of structural violence, and then They're also interacting with communities that have experienced a lot of trauma, especially, marginalized groups or groups, disproportionately impacted by, certain policies and laws. And so we're excited, and I would love to like bring this, across the globe too. But even in doing, individual work on yourself, it is a collective healing for the wider community. And there's been scientific research just showing how trauma can pass through DNA, through the mother's womb, through sperm. I mean, so when you're doing this work, you're not only healing yourself, but you're also healing future generations as well as your ancestral lineage.
And we also are working with Southern Economic Advancement Program, and we've created a policy memo because we would like to also influence policy on mental health. So that's something we're working on too.
Because, there's mental illness, which are, diagnosed, specific illnesses. And then you just have mental health, which is just, that impacts all of us. And that's, focusing on your optimal well-being, how you're interacting in your life, your relationships, your work. And like Keme was saying, it's inevitable. You're going to go out of balance, but it's just noticing, what it looks like when you are balanced, what it looks like when you're going out of balance or experiencing imbalances, and then how to bring yourself back. Because in yoga, you're a whole being, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. You have all these different layers, and you just have to keep tending to each layer and keep cultivating, wellness within each part of yourself so you can be whole.
Yeah. The work's never finished.
Yeah, it's a practice.
Thank you so much, Robyn Donaldson and Keme Hawkins, for being on the Pink Square Show, for taking some very precious time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about your organization, or if they want to just contact you?
Sure. You can just go to our website. It's pathspeace.com for the website.
pathspeace.com.
Sure. Or email us at hello, HELLO at paths, PATHS, peace.com.
All right. Well, thanks again, ladies, and continued success.
Thank you
so
Thank
much.
you. It was an honor. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. You heard it all here. Please go to pathstopeace.com, visit their website, learn more about this amazing organization. It's incredible. I promise you, you will be very, very happy with the information that you're able to glean from that site. And I know that these two women are going to become a force to reckon with within the community. They're doing big things, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much, ladies, for being on the show today. And I just look forward to future success. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Pink Square Show. See you next time.